this month, let's start a little ways back. So on I think December 4th, the IRS released their kind of annual report. And this was if you haven't checked it out, I would check it out. It kind of outlines their priorities. It outlines what they're focused on, what's on their radar for the future. And it's incredibly informative. It's nice to just kind of get a sense of from the horse's mouth, like what's going on. And one of the things that they highlighted in there was that in 2023 alone, they opened 2,676 new crypto-related cases. So this is a massive focus for the IRS right now. And the post from Sheehan just really highlighted this. It was, he said that this was something that they brought this month. Federal prosecutors brought the first pure legal crypto tax indictment against a Texas individual. So the guy sold 3.7 million of Bitcoin and bought a house. Then on his 2017 return, he falsely inflated his cost basis of BTC to reduce his capital gains. In 2018 and 2019, he failed to report 650K in Bitcoin sales. And then he also structured his earnings. So he sold BTC in an exchange and made a series of bank deposits of the cash in amounts less than 10K each to avoid triggering currency transaction reporting requirements. So this guy went for the trifecta, right? So he didn't just didn't just have a failure to report. He went to the like a willful failure file, and along with that had some structuring issues here too. So
he didn't understand structuring because the 10,000 is cash for businesses. The banks have a CTR at $3,000. It's automatic. The bank reporting threshold is lower, so he was screwing up his structuring. But I guess they must have found out that he intended to do it the wrong way with 10,000 instead of 3.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean he intended to do it the wrong way?
He misunderstood.
He
misunderstood how he was structuring. He wasn't even doing it right. He's such a bad criminal that he thought he had to get below 10,000, but it's 3 for the bank. It's 10,000 between businesses, right?
Okay.
So we don't have to file the equivalent of a CTR. We don't have to file an 8,300 at $3,500 because we're just a business. A bank has a lower threshold of 3,000. So
is the 3,000 threshold for crypto?
No, that's for cash.
Everything.
For cash. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It's a what is it? The CTR is a
currency transaction report.
Okay. And then there's an SAR, which is a suspicious activity report. Yeah. What's the main difference with that?
I think the CTR is automatic.
Okay.
And in the banks. So if you make a deposit of $3,200, it's going to get automatically put on a list, right, of transactions. I don't think anybody's even looking at it unless there's an investigation. Then they probably come back and start looking at the transactions. But for suspicious activity report, that, as far as I know, is someone checks a box and a person says, hey, this is suspicious, I'm checking a box. Like on the Form 8300, it's a box you check. And you check the box if somebody is attempting, the definition of suspicious activity on Form 8300 is that someone is attempting to avoid filing the 8300, which would be structuring, right? If you keep doing $9,900 transactions or whatever to stay below, that's suspicious activity in itself.
So herein lies the problem with a lot of like crypto taxes and people's perspective on them is that like people think like there's a lot of people who think, oh yeah, if you want to get under this threshold, a lot of people don't know about what structuring is, and so they'll say, yeah, just cash in $9,999. Yeah, well, if you have multiple deposits in that amount or in that range, even if it's 9,900 or whatever, the banks take notice of that. Am I correct, Brian? Where if you have multiple deposits of like, just under 10,000, they're going to start to look at that stuff.
I don't know, but I suspect that a software probably knows how to pick up structure. Right. So
yeah.
Could I add SAR reporting from a chief compliance officer perspective? As a chief compliance officer, we have to draft SARs. It's very limited characters, and we have a password. We have an account with Treasury Department. And then when we draft a SAR, very limited characters, we have to be careful what we add. And then we have to enter a password, our code that's linked to us, me personally, and then I send it to Treasury Department online. So there's two ways to do SARs, what Brian just said, and from what compliance has to do.
So with your SARs that you're filing, Lourdes, is that, why do they limit the characters? They just want you to say as little as possible to not kind of compromise the investigation, or what is the rationale for that?
That I don't know why they have limited characters. It's very painful for us because I'm responsible for drafting SARs. And when we draft a SAR, it's really serious. I mean, I drafted maybe 2 SARs a year.
Yeah,
It has to be really serious because those SARs, once they're submitted to Treasury, Treasury has to look at it, screen it against their blacklist list, and screen it for other things. And then those SARs go to FBI. When I
So
was in
you're
the
not limiting-
FBI, I reviewed SARs.
right. So you're not limiting characters by saying like bad man steal money.
No, for some reason their system has a limited characters, like tweet.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah, yeah,
tweeting.
yeah.
So
Yep.
it's painful for us because we have so much to offer. But at the end, I would say, please contact me. And of course, I'll have my phone number. And I
Right.
give them my personal cell when it comes to a SAR. Because if they call me, I want to be available immediately.
Interesting. Good
See,
to have
that tells me that a lot of people in cannabis were really screwing up by every time they did an A300 for cannabis because it was illegal, federally illegal, they checked the suspicious activity box. And I'm like, no, it doesn't meet the definition of suspicious activity in the Form 8300 instructions. And you're probably going to alert, some agency that's going to waste their time and resources when they're looking for terrorism and, cartel drug dealing. They're going to have to sit there and waste their time looking at your state legal cannabis business reports. So thanks for vindicating me there, because I haven't been checking the box for cannabis.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my world, a SAR is serious.
So coming back to this, like the underreporting problem that we have in the States with regards to the IRS and things like that. Per the IRS's criminal investigation unit, they're saying that now more than half of crypto-related caseloads involve tax evasion cases concerning individuals who engaged in legitimate transactions involving digital assets, but committed tax evasion by failing to report or falsely reporting their transactions. And so this is where, it's another niche that's going to require a ton of eyes on it, because they're saying more than half of their caseload is people who did things legitimately, but then after the fact, they tried to structure things or they tried to evade taxes in some way that now it's coming back to bite them in the ass. So, Brian, can you talk a little bit to because we are spinning up a tax resolution firm that's going to be focused on these types of situations where people get a letter from the IRS, either they get a CP notice stating that the IRS has information that's materially different from what the taxpayer filed, or you have the IRS sends you a letter just saying that you owe $50,000 or more or whatever. In the event of because Brian is the resident resolution expert on our team. Is illegal activity, is that something that we could help with as well from a resolution side?
Remember, Nick was saying they hire him and then he hires us as Covell accountants. So we work under the attorney-client privilege if anybody has any potential legal issues. Like if they did anything that they know is fraudulent, or we can identify like, hey, you were evading taxes here.
Yeah, it's like
Nick, right?
So now call Nick and then
call Nick, and then Nick can hire us and you can pay for us through Nick. And then we've got the attorney-client equivalent thing going on because we're not working for the client, we're working for Nick.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's called the Covell rule. Is that what it is?
Covell, Kovel. Yeah, I think it's a tax court case, Covell or something. But
awesome. Yeah, so I think you're going to see a lot of this, and I mean, we've already talked about the size and scale of the crypto tax prep industry alone. Over $5 billion easily. If you look at the numbers of who's filing versus who's not filing, and just what you can charge for these types of services, because it's complicated and it requires hours of work. So just the tax prep market alone is huge. But if you think about the additional markets outside of that, where it's tax resolution work, or it's just general accounting for Web3 organizations, or it's tax planning. Because if you have your clients in a tax prep software system, those addresses, the transactions that occur throughout the year will populate throughout the year. So you can monitor your clients' transactions and ask them questions about it in real time, so that you're clarifying those issues before they become out of mind for your client. So I think above and beyond tax prep and resolution work, we're also going to see a lot of like strategic tax planning work that goes into this, that you can add on services and just create additional value for your clients. But
Can I ask a total newbie question?
please.
By the way, we're at 63.7 thousand for Bitcoin.
Oh, I love it. The live
updates.
Great.
I know, right?
It's gonna hit 70 this week, right?
Oh man, it could hit it today. Anyways, my newbie question is, when you guys say structuring, like what it sounds like you've got a very specific meaning to that. Can you enlighten me on what that is?
So if you know that the threshold where someone has to report that cash transaction happened, for example, on a form 8300 is 10,000, and you intentionally, so 2 payments within 24 hours is considered a single payment. So if you're buying something that's $40,000, but you decide to pay, you know, 9,000 a day, wait every other day, so that you stay below the 10,000 to sneak it by without having to report.
Okay.
So structuring the way you pay to avoid having to fill out a report would be structuring.
It's
Gotcha.
it's to avoid the flag, and structuring the term is that's an actual crime. So when we use the term,
Yeah, that's a no. That sounds like a no-no.
Yeah. So basically, you're trying to avoid the need to file or report something that should be reportable.
Yep.
And
Okay.
for the cash, the definition of suspicious transaction, where you check the box, is a transaction that appears that a person is attempting to cause Form 8300 not to be filed, or to file a false or incomplete form, or in which the transactions otherwise appear suspicious for any reason.
So
So if you're
related to that,
attempting not to file it, that's structuring.
yeah, but
Sure.
so I mean, you're talking about this is a box you would check on the Form 8300, so they would already have an obligation. So in what instance would someone need to check that box if an 8300 is already being filed? Because if they were doing that, trying to avoid the Form 8300 being filed, you would.
I can file an 8300 on you for $100 if I think that it's suspicious activity.
Okay.
It's voluntary. You can voluntarily file an 8300 if you think something's suspicious. So if you keep giving me, if you tell me like, hey, I'm gonna give you 9,000 now and 9,000 next week for this, you know, this piece of equipment I'm buying from your business. Now this is in the course of business. 8300s are in the course of business.
Right.
Then I should be saying that's suspicious. You know, maybe this guy's laundering money, and I can voluntarily file an 8300 reporting those amounts less than 10,000 as suspicious activity.
Okay, so it would be an 8300 that wasn't required for the amount, but you think that they're trying to do it as a result. Okay, cool. And so the reason we're spending a decent amount of time on 8300 and the like is because this is likely going to become it's going to become a requirement in 2025. It was originally supposed to go live this year for crypto, and so the same sorts of principles would apply here in crypto as well, except it would be easier to track and see on chain, because you can, you know, everything's traceable on chain, right? And so we don't know the requirements or the threshold. Well, we're assuming it's going to be a $10,000 threshold for 8300s in crypto as well, but we don't know kind of the regulations and the rules that are going to go about it. But you're going to have some other form of like SAR box, I'm guessing, and things like that, so you can report those suspicious activities, and you can I think it's going to be easier to track down people who are trying to get around this by structuring in crypto as well.
Sure. Also, too, if anybody missed it, Phil Guadiano had a great session, IRS perspectives on digital assets. Once I get that into the community, he really broke down 8300s. He gave prime examples just to better understand it. And then also provided some IRS perspectives on what he thinks the future for 8300s and digital assets will be. Back to the topic too. I was reading through the comments on Sheehan's post, and somebody did make a good point, which I think pulls back to what Taylor was asking as far as resolution goes. And somebody said basically if he just did not report anything, that would have removed the criminal aspect of it. And then he would have just been, he would have owed the IRS some money, and it could have been the end of it potentially.
And he might have had penalties and interest. He would have had penalties and interest, but he might, if it was a first time offense, he might have gotten some of those knocked away.
Yeah.
And so this guy, by falsifying his records and reporting his cost basis as higher than it actually was, that's where the criminal aspect comes in. The structuring is where the criminal aspect comes in. So this guy made a much bigger problem for himself on multiple counts. By as you say, he would have been better off just not filing and then eating those failure to file penalties, and going out about it that way. So
it seems significant. I mean, 5 years in prison for each count. Did it mention how many structuring counts?
So he structured Bitcoin, like he cashed out Bitcoin into actual physical cash. And it doesn't say how many counts he had, but if he, in 2018 and 2019, he failed to report 650K in Bitcoin, I'm guessing it's, more than 3, right? So it's like, so I'm not sure if each structuring charge is each time they tried to, like, I don't know if you get 4 different structuring cards for charges for like 2,500 4 different times, or if that's one structuring charge. I'm not sure how they go about.
Probably, I would assume it's each time you did it, so that's what they're saying. 5 years for each time, and then 3 years in prison for each false return count.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if the guy only structured it. What's that?
They can do it concurrent if he pleads guilt. Wait, did he get convicted?
He's indicted.
Indicted, yeah. So he could probably plead guilty, get him to put it concurrent, and get like a lesser sentence. It'd probably do like 3 years or something. I mean, white collar crime isn't quite.
I mean, but they may try to make an example of this guy as like the first major. I mean, this is the first pure legal crypto tax indictment. So
is it, or is it the first in Texas?
No, it's the
The
first.
first.
Yeah, towards an individual.
Right.
So they've done, like, they did the Bits Lotto as Lourdes went over in her presentation. They did some other ones as well, but they've done a lot of like kind of more enterprise level or company level, corporate level, but individual, I believe that this is the first.
Nice.
There's a couple things that are interesting, I think, about this case, and I'd love to talk about all of them, but like one is did he like buy the house with Bitcoin, like exactly, or like with the direct?
No, I think he sold the Bitcoin and then used the proceeds to buy the house. And I think that it was because it was in like, I think it was in like 2017 when he did that. He probably didn't realize he had to file or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that he sold the Bitcoin for cash and then bought the house.
Okay. Is there maybe this is another newbie question, but is there like a way to do like an in-kind with the house where you can buy it and not recognize your gains?
Crypto, I don't think you can do stuff like that. There's no in-kind with crypto. So you would have to recognize the disposition of the digital asset because you're selling it. Crypto to crypto is not an in-kind. Crypto, there's no in-kind with crypto. So
Only
you
real
have
property.
to recognize the gain. Even if he did sell the Bitcoin directly for that, or even if he did just trade the Bitcoin for the house, he would still have a taxable event.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brian, you were saying only real property. This would
only
be
real property is eligible for like-kind exchange, for 1031 exchange.
So it would have to be real property for
Real property means real estate, means physical real estate.
two real estate. Okay. Yeah. And then the other thing, I don't know, I was actually at a Bitcoin meetup last night, and people were talking about how they mined Bitcoin and they were like not reporting that as income in the current year. And I'm like,
Yeah, this is something I don't agree with, but this was one, we had a really awesome talk on this at the conference, opinion letters. So those people who aren't reporting it as income, they should have an opinion letter stating that, hey, this is like the same as building a pool in your backyard. You don't have to pay the government for the increase in value that gives your house in the year. You recoup that, or you pay the government for when you sell your house, right? So that's kind of
Right.
the legal argument that those people that are mining Bitcoin are taking. They're saying, hey, I just chopped down a bunch of logs. I haven't sold those logs yet. I have the logs in inventory. When I sell them, I'll recognize the gain and I'll pay you the taxes on that. And the basis will be zero. So it'll be like, when I actually sell this for proceeds, I'll report those proceeds. It's not how it's outlined in the tax code, but there's arguments to be made, and if you have a formal opinion letter from a lawyer, you can justify a position like this, and you would have much more favorable treatment. Even if the IRS strikes this down, you can at least say, hey, I went through the process to go through a lawyer to get this analyzed, and they gave me this opinion letter saying that this position that I'm taking is justified based on these legal arguments. So it's a stance you can take, but I would make sure that I would be advising those people that, I mean, they're not your clients, so maybe it's not official advice, but I would say,
Right.
hey, I would recommend, here's a company. So look at Derek Ride's presentation when we get the recordings up. He did a whole one about opinion letters and about how you can leverage those to take positions like that. So that is a common position that people take.
Interesting.
Another position miners can take is that FinCEN doesn't require them to register as a money service business as of today.
Does not?
No, they don't require miners to register as MSBs. No, as of
Yeah.
today. I'm hoping that'll change because they should, but I'm not Treasury.
I think it's fine the way it is.
Anders, are you a miner?
Mm,
Well, he's watching
No.
the Bitcoin price. It checks out. Watching the Bitcoin price during our call.
Good. So, Carrie, I would love to have an ETH Denver update. It seems like I can see the sporks behind you.
You've even got them as antlers.
Horns. How are things going out there?
Good. I just got here a little while ago. So I live in Colorado Springs, so I can just drive up, which is really nice. So nothing really has happened. So my whole goal today was to come up, get registered, and get everything and just check out some stuff. There's a few different things going on, but it's pretty impressive just how, let me see, I'll just
Yeah, give us a tour. Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like they've got it really like it's interesting because I've been to so many corporate types of events.
Not that.
And this is like way more fun and energetic and colorful. And so I'm really excited about it. It was just it was so convenient to have it be just up here in Denver. Yeah.
I love
so.
Yeah, that's the event on my list as like the one that I want to get to the most. My wife just gave birth 5 months ago, and I've got a 2.5-year-old, and I live in Costa Rica, so it's like, but that is the event that I want to be going to. Next year when things settle down a little bit, ETH Denver is the event that's on my schedule for like must get to.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be really interesting. Lots of really cool people to meet. And it's awesome for me because I've been kind of like just focused in on my little world of my client that I spend a lot of time with. And so getting connected with this community and then having this right now, I just feel like I've been able to meet so many really good people really, really quickly. And that's been really fantastic. And the work that I do is more in the, I'd say, broader operational realm.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do tax returns and I don't do accounting. I do I do some strategic work, but then I also walk it back to like very, very specific operational work, process work. Like I I can be up here in the clouds, but like I have no problem. I actually like love like rolling up my sleeves and getting down and like creating process and making things work really, really, really well. And so it's fantastic to be connected to this group because I feel like I can source really good people to work on different aspects of client needs, and also it's just really, really interesting. I think there's going to be a very interesting evolution of of operational and financial risk management, HR, all these different things, sort of like climbing up this value chain as companies in this space finally have the ability to be compliant. And so compliance is just like so massively important right now because it's been so hard. It's just been like way more of a struggle than it should be. And now there's really competent professionals. There are software solutions. So clients can start to feel like, okay, I can sleep at night knowing that I'm actually filing returns that I feel comfortable with. So like this climbing, I call it like climbing up the value chain. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see now. Okay, we've got that covered. Now, like, oh, there's this whole new world of, oh, but what about this? And I think it's going to help companies extract a lot more value and run more profitably than they probably currently are. And that's what I've seen with the client that I'm working with now in this space.
So I think I've got a bunch of people from the community that are there that I would like to connect you with.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Casper, who we connected you with the other day,
Yes, yes.
he and his team are going to be there, so you should meet up with them.
Yep.
Atik and Mohammed are.
I just posted the link.
Yeah, Actual is going to be there. They have like a meetup, so you should just go see those guys.
Yep.
Derek Ride, who I was just mentioning about the legal.
Oh yes,
letter,
is he going to be here?
he's
Yes.
there. Yeah, I believe the Cryptio team, the Bitwave team. So if you need connections or want to get introduced to any of those people, please just let me know and I'll make an intro. I would love to connect you. So I think that Stacy, you should definitely meet up with Stacy.
Yes.
Because I think that there's some overlap with her company, FinSuite Consulting, maybe with what you do.
Yeah.
Her and Amber are there, I believe. So lots of people that I would love to connect you with. If
That
you,
would be awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. And it was so wonderful last week because I got connected with so many people that spoke and other people that were participating. But that would be really great. And I know I'm pretty sure that their meetup is today, and I think and I'm signed up for it.
Oh, perfect.
So and I'm having coffee with Casper on Friday.
Excellent.
Oh, great.
So
Love it.
yeah, I've gotta meet Stacy and Amber, and I need to find Derek. Those are some of my people that I wanna.
I will make those connections today. I'll
That
shoot.
would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's just kind of close out this discussion of like the IRS's enhanced focus on this industry. I think that this is we're at the tipping point right now where it's the time to be in this industry from an accounting and tax perspective, because the flood of non-compliance, of people that just want to proactively get in compliance, the CPA firms that are just antiquated and old that want to maybe outsource this in a white glove type of fashion. We're seeing some use cases for that. If you want to be a tax pro and you want to go approach these kind of like Web 2 firms that, yeah, they know that they need to be in Web 3, but they don't have the confidence to go after it, or they don't want to take the time to train up their team. It's a really good way to step in and help in that realm. And then, other niches like crypto tax resolution, you can carve out a niche where it could be a multi-million-dollar business in the span of a year, just from the amount of work that's out there. And so I think that this is the time to get involved and the time to be looking at this industry from an education standpoint as well. So, yeah, I think that those cases coming to a fruition, as I mentioned, it was before you joined, Gary, but the IRS opened 2,676 new cases in 2023 related to crypto taxes. So they are on this. They are looking at it, and they just hired. I got to pull up the article, but they hired ex-Binance US guy. The IRS did, to head up their digital assets division. So they are taking this seriously. They may not have the tools to internally look at this stuff themselves, but as we mentioned before, they have Chainalysis, they have other companies and other platforms that they can leverage to look at stuff in a very detailed way, to look at flow of funds and to identify people on chain that aren't directly identifiable, like maybe just by their public address. So
I
you'll
thought
see.
that those hires were super interesting. I cannot remember. I used to be, you know, very focused on tax in the earlier part of my career. I've never seen the IRS hire outside professionals of that caliber to enforce a very specific area. It is not something that is usual. And it just, and I'm sure that they aren't paying them $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
No, they're all they're 6-figure jobs now.
Yeah, and so it is. I think there's a wake up call, and this is the time for companies to get serious. And you know, I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's very interesting because I think there's going to be an awakening in general, just about, oh, like this was an idea and it worked and I made some money, but like now this is a business and this could do something. And like, I code, I don't like run business. Like what the heck does that even mean? I don't know. I'm curious about everyone on this call and on your perspectives on this. But one of my big things is because I don't work with individuals. I work with businesses, and I'm like, I'm trying to get my arms around where are the businesses, and I think they're everywhere, and I just don't even know that some people even think about themselves like that.
Yeah. So I had a unique conversation yesterday with Jeanette Spalding. I just got introduced to her. She does some great fireside chats. And she's also creating a community similar to crypto CFOs, but for just in business in general. So not specific. So it's perfectly aligned with what you're saying. And she wants to really provide, because what she's noticing, she's a consultant in the space. She's getting hired by just a degen or a miner that, you know, made tons of money. Now they're up 7-8 figures, like you're saying, and now they're a VC, or now they're building a company, and they have no idea how to create an LLC, create, you know, basic setting up a business banking account, like how to put together a pitch deck, all these things. So I hear what you're saying 100%, and I think that time is now. I gave her nothing but praise on the call yesterday because it's extremely important. And to kind of like your point, I think where the businesses are, and if you're looking for potential clients and, you know, people to work in the space, I would try to network and partner with blockchains directly, because they do a lot of programs internally, where they're providing just financing and investments through their DAOs or through any kind of builder programs, and also any accelerator programs. And probably if you take 5 steps forward and turn around, you'll find somebody at ETH Denver that's doing exactly that, because it's really to your point, they're everywhere. You know, I think there's businesses all around that are going to be faced with challenges that we may think are mundane and not, you know, like we all pretty much can set up a business and do, but there's people in the space that could not, the same way I couldn't code out, you know, a blockchain protocol type thing, you know. So it's definitely an awakening. I think there's an evolution happening at this moment, and to be honest, I think you could be blindfolded in the dark and find a way to make money in this space right now, because regardless of whatever it is that you do, there's a need for it, you know, like, so in any capacity,
Right.
you know,
There will be many blind squirrels getting nuts this run.
Yes.
think that to your point as well, if there's never been a better time in history to create a $1 billion business idea as a solopreneur, right? With the advent of with AI and the way that you can get a lot more done and you can have roles filled with these AI agents and with a lot of by leveraging AI, I think you'll see a lot more agile organizations that are smaller teams and things like that. So spinning up new companies isn't going to be as labor intensive as well. But those people that just don't know what they don't know related to actually spinning up that business, those are the people that will need help as well. And I think we have the VP of Finance in the Crypto CFOs community from Polygon Labs as well.
Oh, wow.
So I can give you an intro to him if you'd like.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, his name is Joe Hamad. He's a great guy. So that they would be a good place to approach as well for their Polygon Village. So they have a grant program where they are granting funds to startups at different stages, and the mentors in that program get help by giving advice and sometimes services to those people. So that's a really good connection to have as well. So I can make that intro.
That would be so helpful. Oh my gosh, I appreciate it so much. And Brandon, if you could intro me to was it Jeanette?
Yeah, Jeanette Spalding. Yep, she said she's going to start off with a newsletter, building her audience. So she said she's about she actually didn't say, but I would assume by the end of the year to next year to actually build her community. But she's definitely a wealth of knowledge in the space, and she's connecting me to a lot of people too. And I think a very interesting point that we can make, especially on this call, is in the spirit of Web3. I've been in many different industries. Me and Brian and Taylor, we just came from cannabis. We've been in many other. There's no industry where this happens. We're like, sure, I'll introduce you to my most trusted, highest connection that I have. Here you go. So to Taylor's point, now is the time to be in the space because everybody's, let's connect good people with good people. And that is, to me, Web3. It's community, it's connections, we can all win without anybody losing. There's no sense of
that is so well. And I've been working, the client that I spend a lot of time with that is crypto related. I've been working with them for over a year now, and it just became more and more fascinating. And I got more and more just really, I guess it's just you fall in love with this ecosystem because it's not like the other business ecosystems I've been a part of that are just the competition and the just all that stuff, just really good people, really nice people, and smart, super smart. So yeah, I'm super thankful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I would love to hear more updates as you're at ETH Denver. I'm living vicariously through you. I really would love that's the event though. Like I say, that's on my top of my list for next year to get to. So good on you for being there. And yeah, if next week I think we're going to discuss we haven't kind of formalized the discussion yet, but I think we might do something on either intake checklist. We did one last year and we're just going to revamp that and revisit what do you do for when you take on a new crypto client, whether it's tax or whether it's a consulting client, what are the questions that we ask them so that we make sure that we get the full picture so we can either quote them on scope properly or whatever. It's just a nice starting point. So I think we're going to do that next week. So unless anyone on this call, please, if you have ideas or things that you want us to dive deeper into, we can always kind of gear the Watercooler Wednesdays towards I can go out and I can learn about the topic if I don't know about it, and I can grab someone that is an expert on the topic to speak on it as well. So if there's anything that's confusing or that you want to just get more insight into, we can also cater those Watercooler Wednesday calls to that. I suspect that the reason we don't have too many people on this call today is just because of ETH Denver as well. So hopefully next week we'll get a few more people on here and we can have this discussion was great, but I'd love to continue to grow that as well. So thank you everyone for joining. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add.
I do. I have one thing to add. I was reading this article. Thank you for sharing, Brandon. The Texas guy. Who was the real estate agent? Who was the title company? Who submitted the OFAC form for this guy?
Yeah.
Because, you know, even when you buy a car in cash, which I do, so I don't have to pay the APR, they have to report me to OFAC. This woman bought a car in cash.
Yeah.
And if you can have a real estate agent talk about compliance, I mean, what do they do when somebody walks into their office
Mhm.
with this kind of
He
deal?
could have bought the house directly from the seller, you know. I mean,
Peer to
I've done
peer,
that,
of
I've done that
course.
before.
Look at you, Brian.
Could be a
Okay.
place where that would be a place where they could have if they found someone that wanted to take Bitcoin at the time for the house, they could have easily done that. That's a good point.
That could
I'm
have been
just
part,
curious
like
with
he
real
could have bought it from
estate.
his buddy. That could have been part of the deal. Hey, I'll buy your house. I'll give you some Bitcoin. Give me the house, you know. Nobody will know.
True.
Not that I'm just speculating, but that's
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great idea. I'm curious about how real estate handles crypto. If you can get a speaker, I can find a speaker for you.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd
I
be
mean,
super interesting.
yeah, that would be
Yeah.
interesting for sure. I can ask the guys over at Anomaly CPAs. They
Yeah,
are
right.
that's their special. I mean, they're very versatile, so they do know cryptos. They spoke at the conference as well on the tokenization of asset, and they focus more on the real estate side. Their main business is real estate accounting and tax, but it would be very interesting to hear from those guys because I'm sure that they would have some perspectives on that. Cool.
Great.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
Great.
Well,
Bye,
Thanks,
Anders.
everybody.
Bye, Carrie. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Good to see
Bye,
all
later,
of
guys.
you.
Good to-